Welcome to our monthly live stream, and I am blessed to be joined by my brilliant friend, industrial designer extraordinaire, Ayse Birsel. Ayse, thank you for co-hosting with me today.
Molly, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, so friends, one of the things that I have committed to is I don't have enough time to spend with the people that I adore in my life. So any chance I get to cross paths with people who I feel like we are mutual kindred spirits, I'm doing it. So I'm really thrilled because today's topic is you. And Ayse has a long career in designing beautiful things. I think most importantly, she's helping people really design beautiful lives and feeling really whole in their full selves. And that sounds all like fabulous and exciting. But we wanted to be real today and think about, sometimes it's not necessarily that easy to know what we might love, to let go of what we know, even though it's not perfect, and go into something new. And so actually, I'm really thrilled to have you join me, talk about some of the courage, what's hard about people kind of stepping back to be able to move forward. I just think this is something where, I want people to be really considering you're worthy and you're amazing, and we want you to live your very best life.
Yes, I love that, Molly. Our original life, you know, and that life, of course, includes work. And I just want to go back to what you said in the beginning. What you're doing is working with your friends and becoming friends with the people you work with. And I love that as a principle because it's dichotomy resolution. Often when we're with friends, we're not working. And when we're working, we're not with friends. So we're not socializing. But if we can do those two things together, we're basically having our cake and eating it too. And so designing your life and work is that idea of finding the shortcuts and the creative tools to do the things that you want to do, and through that having a life and your work, everything, your friends, um, kind of bringing them together in a way that's original to you. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think people, I think you've worked with so many people. So the idea of finding what's right for you is kind of scary because you're the only one who knows what's right for you. And there are things where you look
right.
out there and they're having a great time and they're doing this and it works for them. And I think you have a process of deconstructing and reconstructing. And I'd love to hear when you work with folks, even though they want to be able to kind of move forward in this really positive way, what do you find sometimes holds folks back?
Yeah, I mean, you and I work with a lot of executives, right? And often the people that I work with, they are at a point in their life where they know that they need to change something. So if everything is going beautifully, like you have the perfect life, work, whatever, that's not the time to deconstruct and reconstruct. You have to have this feeling that comes from within, which we all do at different times, where you feel like, um, I've done everything that I was supposed to do and it's not enough, and I need to change something. And so, but what are you going to change to is the question. So that's where I help people in. Um, and it's this, what the process looks like, it's going from the real to the ideal, because that's what design is, right? Um, real is the moment where you feel like, okay, this is not working anymore, and that's kind of your problem statement. And then you want to go towards an ideal, but to be able to go to that ideal, you need to be able to imagine it. So I want to demonstrate it to you and to our listeners and viewers. Where, okay, so imagine that this is real and this is ideal, right? So the shortcut, the shortest distance between these two is a straight line. But imagine when you're trying to go from the real to the ideal and you're trying to go in a straight line, guess what happens? You hit your head. And you can't go to the ideal because you have all these preconceptions and prejudices and biases, everything you know, and they grab onto you. What you know is very hard to get rid of. But to be able to get here, that's what you can imagine. So how are you going to do that? You're trying to go from the real to the ideal and you hit your head. What you do is you need a diversion. Oh, there's a bird, there's something. And as soon as you do that, your head is out. And now there's a space that opens. And that's where you can imagine and you can go from the real to the ideal. So, a long winded way of saying, folks, if you want to imagine your future, you need to get your head out of that space so that you can create a space to imagine.
It sounds so ideal. Oh, I look up, I'm out of my own way. But I think getting out of our own way is sort of this lifetime's journey. And I think both of us
Yeah.
would, easily admit, the mortification moments of, wow, I really did that. I said that. I behaved that way. And, I do want to offer that I call this affectionately doing the work, which is to take stock, to be able to step back, with your big girl, big boy pants on and say, hey, how did this go? How did it not go? I find myself, this is all very germane to me because I've got this book out. There's a lot of things that have really come together in the last 2.5 years. And I was at a 7-day a week, like sprint, right? Full on sprint, all good. And then I was like, whoa, now I have a chance to kind of step back, get my head out of the way and recreate in a way that's going to be meaningful for me. And I think some of these principles, like just, I don't have enough time to spend with the people that I love and adore, right? So I need to figure out, how do I do more of that? How do I stay connected? Talk to me about when people are reconstructing the ideal, how you talk them through the impact they want to make. How do you help people with, what is the there for them?
So that's the how do you get out of your head? You do that with creative tools. And so, what I do is get people to think about, for example, their heroes so that they can understand what their values are. And so instead of telling them, what are your values? I ask them, who are your heroes? Which is the same question, but it's a little trick for your own good that gets you out of me to thinking, oh, like I like the way Molly does things. Like these days, I am interested in the way that Julia Child does things, because she was a master deconstruction reconstructionist. But it's in a different field. So thinking about Julia Child allows me to trick my mind to think about a different model that I can cross fertilize from. And so that's one way of doing it. So for people who are listening to us, think of people who inspire you and then think about what would you do to be more like them, and then try different people for size and listen to yourself as you think of them, and you might realize this person inspires me more. And then that gives you a little clue or a hook that you can develop. Right? So I realized that Julia Child had something. And the more I did research on her, the more I realized she deconstructed French cooking to reconstruct American cooking and made it very accessible. Like she made good food accessible to people. And I realized I actually want to do the same thing, except it's around design. I want to deconstruct design and why it works and make it accessible to everyone like you. everybody who's listening to us. So, but instead of thinking about design, thinking about her liberates me.
I love that. So it's funny you mentioned Julia because she is one of my idols. I actually have a picture with Julia Child because I worked in a professional cooking school, and she is just everything everyone thinks. She was just unbelievable. She was fabulous, super tall, and but just disarming, genuine love, so approachable. So I could see how you could really resonate with her because she really has a certain universality about her.
So what that's so interesting. And we didn't even practice this, right? This is so serendipitous that we're talking about Julia Child. And look, I mean, she was successful in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and like decades later, we're still like relating to her. But how do you see her? Like, why do you have her picture up?
Well, I worked in this professional cooking school for just a year, and she is the doyenne, right, of being a cook. I don't know that she called herself a chef. So she was just extraordinary, and she came into the kitchen, and she just was so personable, so down to earth, so not haute cuisine or anything unapproachable. She was the exact opposite, and I read a little bit about her. I have a few of her books, and she's just, she's just so real. And I think when you think about the idols that I have, those folks who really achieve the extraordinary. I have a lot of
Right.
athletes that are in that idol category for me, and that's their ability to have the grace to push through the failure, to hold it together, to be growing in front of the world. I mean, I think of those things as just insane. And some of these folks, I'm into tennis, as everyone knows, these young athletes that are like 19 years old, they're 20 years old, right? And before our eyes, you see them grow. And I've learned a lot. To your point, I take very seriously when I listen to folks. I used to have a professional hockey coach who I would tune in just to how he would speak about games and the team and engender that really high performing spirit with full respect that the players were the ones on the ice doing the work. Right? It wasn't like we are not doing anything during the game. And it's I love your idea of just kind of stepping out of whatever sandbox you might be most used to and looking to music, or look at some of the most wonderful. I mean, I play the violin, classical musicians, right, and their craft and how they master it and all it takes to really excel.
Oh, I love that. So Molly, may I build on that? Because you
Please.
said a couple things that are amazing. One is like you're someone who says things skillfully, and it made me think like Julia Child was somebody who was very skillful
Yes.
at cooking. And so it's very different things, but it's the same goal. So it's like how, and I see this in your work, like how can you make an extraordinary impact in the world, which is a lofty goal, and sometimes those goals are scary. And what I find and what I coach is hold that thought, because you want something that excites you. Otherwise, like, why get out of bed, right? So for me, the idea of like doing Julia Child is very exciting, and it's crazy, but I like that. And I
Yeah.
don't, if everybody could think of like what they could do that's extraordinary, but not worry about how am I going to get there. You need to hold. So again, if we think about as you go from the real to the ideal in the word ideal is the word idea. You need to have ideas. Once you have an idea that excites you, then you can figure it out. And you need patience and, you know, hang in there and let the steps reveal themselves, because your unconscious or subconscious, sorry, will do a lot of the work, and your energy is infectious. You will, like, I'm sharing these ideas with you, and you're sharing your ideas with me. We will collaborate and unexpected serendipitous things will happen. But for all those things to happen, we need to have that vision. And the vision can't be obstructed by our conscious telling us, you can't do that. You can't be Julia Child. What are you talking about? You're not even a chef, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, yes, I can. Just in my field. And, yes, Molly can do that. I can see she's doing it already. Like this could be her next phase. And we're both going to figure it out.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Love it. So one of the things, folks, for people out there, you have these dreams and you have to say them. It can't be a dream in your head that you only think about at night when you're going to bed. The ability to verbalize it, to articulate it, and put it out into the universe, right? I want to do X. I want to be on these boards. That is the signal to the universe of your first step in courage. And it invites those who will help you manifest that dream, because nobody does it alone. And that ability, I just want folks, it took me a long time. But once I realized, I'm like, you know what? The universe conspires to help you do those great things. When your intention is really to help people, to make the world a better place, you know what? It starts to come together. Now, I think it's so serendipitous because I was telling you, Ayse, I don't know how I got on the Arnold Schwarzenegger weekly newsletter, the Pump Club, okay? Because I don't lift weights, but I am a big fan of Arnold. I think he's great. Yeah. And so he had a very, very timely post. And, he was just talking about, sometimes you get to this new state, they want to weight lift. Here you are, you're ready to do this better thing, but it's not kind of happening easily. It's not really working very well, even though I've decided to get that new idea. Ayse told me to get a new idea. I have this new idea, but it's not really clicking yet. And he has this idea he always loves. He's like, be the buffalo. Cattle run away from the storms. Buffalo walks straight into them. And the storm's moving fast. So it's the way to get through the storm in the fastest way. And, he talked about something. You learn that you can survive something you once thought would swallow you. You understand that not quitting, especially when quitting feels rational, creates a kind of strength people rarely understand. And once you are committed to yourself, and I get that that means surrounding yourself with people who are believers of you. And, we love the people who want to offer opinions and say you can't do it. You want to dump those people and say, who are the people who are like, you know what, we can make that happen. Because when you get this small and mighty group, that's what changes the world. And his final thing, I think, because you can apply that same honesty, grit, and consistency when life is quiet, not just when it's falling apart, right? But you can become this unstoppable force. And so I just want folks to know, deep inside you, in the depths of you, is far more than you may ever appreciate it. And sometimes it really takes putting yourself to the test. And it may not feel great, and it may not look pretty, but in the end, when you push through and you bring others along who have the same belief that you have, there's just nothing like it. And, we were both talking, I think, we're feeling pretty undeniable. Like, I know that what I can do can help people find their voices, learn how and when best to use them. It changes people's lives, right? And Ayse knows that she can help people kind of get out of their own way and live a better life. And we're just kind of, I don't want to say plotting, but we're step by step moving forward. And I think they say people grossly overestimate what they do in the short term, but underestimate what they might accomplish in the long term. And so I think that notion of staying the course,
I love that.
believing.
First of all, Molly, congratulations again. That's that's a wonderful accomplishment. But you're reminding me in what you just said is often what you're describing is a calling. The people who don't quit have a calling. And I was thinking about that. The word calling is so interesting because it calls to you. Something is calling to you, right? And there is so much noise in the world that I find myself. I mean, I coach so many amazing people, but it's hard to coach yourself. But one of the things I realized is that you have to listen to that voice. something is calling you, something is calling me to make design accessible to people, because I know it works. It's an incredible problem solving methodology. And when you can go from the real to the ideal, when you're in the ideal state, science in psychology shows us that we are open-minded, opportunity aware, and optimistic, the three O's.
Mm.
And so you want everyone to be able to get into that state, because when you're optimistic, opportunity aware, and you are open minded, that's where you can make things happen. You can collaborate with people. You can, anyways, but I just want to say it starts with listening to that something is calling you. And so,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
open your ears.
Open our ears, open our hearts. That is, I think, part of what I would say is emotional intelligence, right? Getting to know ourselves for who we really are. And I get that that is a learning in and of itself, because as we're younger, everyone's kind of telling us, and we're like, okay, that's what I must be doing that. Maybe I should be a doctor because my mom's telling me I should be a doctor, whatever. And it does take some realization to appreciate that people want what's best for you. But you're this evolving creature. People generally know you in a point in time. So very few are tracking with you the whole way. And so it is up to you to kind of curate and narrate your story there. And I do want folks to appreciate the power that you have. We may have setbacks, and how you talk about them, what you learned from them, how you made it better, how you're better for it. Those are ways that kind of spiral up, versus using some of those tough times as boat anchors that you can't really let go of. And I think we've all been there. We've also all seen people who do that. And I think, the opportunity is with compassion to say, hey, I'm noticing this. And are you happy? Do you want to be happy? Some people, maybe they don't. They don't want to be. They don't want new ideas. They're fine. Hey, that's awesome, right? We want people to be
That's
whole with
totally
who they
fine.
are. It's totally fine. I think
Yeah.
for those who, see the bright future. I mean, Francis Hesselbein was a big mentor for both of us. And, to serve is to live. I mean, that idea of being in service to others, I mean, that was a relatively new idea for me. I was kind of like, gotta fend for myself and like think out for number one, because who else is going to do it, right? It's a total survival-y kind of instinct, which is totally legit. That ability
Yeah.
to have the confidence, even if you don't know necessarily how, to know that Molly's going to be okay. 100% Molly's going to be okay. Therefore, I can be in service to helping others because I know that I'll be okay. And that's a learning. That's kind of a bit of a leap, I have to be honest.
I agree. And um, helping others is, so we did research with people who are 60 and older and really learned from their wisdom. And one of the biggest lessons was that most of our life, our purpose is given to us. Like what you were just saying, like your mom telling you, like, become a doctor, and maybe you follow that line, right?
Exactly.
Or like, work hard, go to school, do a master's, whatever, earn a good living, and you follow that. There are many like societal structures when we're younger that we follow and we learn. But then when you reach a certain age where you've done most of the things that was expected of you, you have to create what I call your self-made purpose. So you have ready-made purpose and you have self-made purpose. And the self-made purpose is what you're talking about, Molly, is that was your awakening in realizing, hold on one second, I can be of service to others. And it actually is very fulfilling, uh, when you help others, you're actually helping yourself. So that, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because often we talk about midlife crisis. It's the crisis is that we don't realize that you can create your own sense of purpose, and it could be through helping others, it could be through creativity, it could be through teaching, learning, standing or fighting up for something you believe. but it has to come from within you, not from the outside. And that's the big shift.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why this just popped into me, but a bazillion years ago, I had a Cornell mentor, and she teed up, and it was like the number one most senior woman at American Express, Anne Busquet. And Anne said, sure, I'll help. I'll go talk to Molly. I mean, I'm in my like mid-20s. So I proceed to go into the American Express building. And she said to me, all the people I do mentoring, I tell them to go to the Johnson O'Connor Institute to do aptitude testing. I had never heard of this. Of course, I was like, she's woman made time for me. I will go do the aptitude testing. But I offer that for folks because the aptitude testing helped me get to know me better. And what are the things that I have high aptitude for? Because we are more likely to excel in those things that we have a natural aptitude for. And so when you're aware of that, the other feature of that is if you have aptitudes and you're not fulfilling them, creativity might be one, right? You are not fulfilled. It doesn't mean you have to accomplish your aptitudes at work, but for a while, I kind of stopped cooking, for example. Cooking, I cook all the time. People like, you cook for yourself? I'm like, yes, I cook all the time. So it helped me appreciate that I have to have a more full range of activities to solve for these aptitudes, if you will, for me to be fulfilled. So I just throw that out there as a Johnson O'Connor aptitude test. I think if I had kids in their teens, I'd have them go do it because it really gives people a chance. Some of them are, musical, sound, hand dexterity. And there's a whole range. But and I know you know this. You agree, Ayse? It's such a privilege to work. It is such a privilege to have a great job, to feel like you can add value, to learn and to grow. Other people around the world, I think, might kill for some of the jobs that people here are like, oh, can't believe we can do it. And so I do want to encourage folks to really make the most, of the time that we have with this privilege to work.
Um, Molly, I feel like we're totally mind melding, which is, you know, uh, not surprising, folks, because even when nobody's listening, Molly and I get together once a month and just talk and, inspire each other. But so one thing I realized is sometimes it's daunting and overwhelming to think, hold on one second, do I have to drop everything and kind of change my life and go towards my ideal? And in fact, no, not at all. You could, like Molly, you were saying, like you could do cooking and that could be your calling, and you could do that for your family, and that's totally fine. But that'll take care of your aptitude, your talent. Or I found, and I think Molly, you did this as well. Like we both authored books, but that didn't mean like you stop doing everything and just like concentrate. Like we can't do that. We have clients, we have projects. But I found that if I could write half an hour to an hour every day, it added up. So I want everybody to also know, like we're in no way suggesting drop everything and find something that like you love doing. No, it's just make sure that that's not kind of neglected while you're doing everything else.
Yeah. Yeah. Excuse me, I saved coughing once. So we could go on and on. I
Yes.
heard from you this optimism, opportunity, open-mindedness. Is there a final takeaway you would want to leave for our listeners? And please let them know how they can learn more from you, Ayse.
Oh, thank you. So the other thing was to know that design is going from the real, what you know, to the ideal, what you can imagine. And to be able to do that, you need to fight your biases, prejudices, preconceptions, and get out of your own way. And the best way to do that is through creative tools. And and if you want to know more about that, you can find me at aysebirsel.com and email me through my website. And on LinkedIn, reach out.
For sure. For sure. Thank you, folks. I would say I have to quote my friend Arnold, those who don't quit can't lose. I want you to know that Ayse and I are cheering for you to be who you are and say what needs to be said skillfully and live the life that you love. please, please, please reach out with your thoughts or questions or any feedback. We wish you well into this holiday season, and I hope you can join us for another exciting live stream next month. Okay, take good care. Ciao. Thank you, Ayse.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Molly.
Okay, we're done.